If we look at the book of Kings, whenever we open up any of the stories, the book of Kings is always about the misdeeds of the kings. They never praise the kings. That was the purpose of the book of Kings, to recall how even though God chose the lineage of the kings, they didn't live up to it until Jesus. Okay, after David, and he was a great person, and Solomon, a great person, a lot of building and so on, but they had a lot of strange behaviors. I'm not going to talk about them, but this is no different today. And we have Ahab, and you've heard that name before. You hear his name usually during Advent because it's during his reign that things related to the birth of Jesus happen. But for us today, the more famous name that we heard today in the scriptures from the book of Kings is Jezebel. Now, when you hear Jezebel, who's the first person that you think of? Now, don't name any of your neighbors. Nobody? Oh, I know you know. No? You're all shy? Jezebel? Johnny Cash, right? Remember the song he sang about Jezebel? That's not the focus of the homily, but this is a little aside. We're stuck today in the scriptures. Jesus is very clear. The apostles ask him, how often should we forgive our brothers and take care of one another? And he says, well, continuously. And he makes this gesture. If someone smacks you on the right cheek, turn your other so you get smacked again. A little exaggeration here. If someone took your cloak, and cloak was very important because they didn't have a wardrobe. The people of this time, maybe they had one cloak and one tunic. They didn't have a lot of clothing. And Jesus is using that. If someone wants your cloak, give it to them. And give them your tunic as well. Of course, you'd be naked. So it's extreme behaviors. And when he says, if they press you into service for a mile, go 2 miles. Now, who did that? The centurions, the soldiers, would punish the people of Israel in the villages for whatever infraction and force them to go a mile. And Jesus is saying, go 2 miles. It's weird, okay? It doesn't make human logical sense according to our figuring. Our figuring is more, go get them. In the opening lines, Jesus says what you and I think, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Look what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the world is, I'm not going to comment on the world yet about that, but it is going eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But Jesus is saying something different. Forgive the one who hurts you. However, we have the Old Testament, we have the New Testament. The Old Testament, this whole story about Jezebel and Ahab, is jealousy, possessiveness, and downright thievery. Ahab wants a piece of land owned by Namath. And Namath, the land then wasn't only like your property, it was your heritage. Like your grandparents lived there, your parents lived there, you lived there, your children lived there. So that they weren't, once they got settled, they weren't nomadic anymore, but they owned the land that was theirs, and it was their heritage. And because it was the Holy Land given to them by God, it was holy to maintain your ground, to maintain your property. You were in dialogue with God who gave you the land. See, the Jews and combine what we call politics and religion a lot. It was a theocratic society. So, although Ahab wanted the land, Naboth says, no. Naboth says, no, you can't have it. It's my heritage. My family owns it. And it's not only owning, it's we're using, like the word stewardship in reference to our ministry today. We're stewards of this land. We can't just give it up. And now comes Jezebel. Very manipulative, very controlling, and the key person she manipulated was her husband, Ahab. Is she a bad woman? She's from another tribe. She's not an Israelite. So right off the bat, when he marries her, she brings false gods into the temple. She worships false gods. So in the eyes of the authors, she's a foreigner and she's a sinner. She's a pagan. And by marrying her, Ahab desecrated the temple. So Jezebel is black and white evil from the scripture's point of view. Maybe yours too, but that doesn't matter. So she gets Naboth land by hiring people, hitmen, to kill him. Once he was dead, the land was free. And she says, okay, Ahab, the land is free now to take it because he's gone. The prophet's reaction to that is, you're gonna get yours. The prophet's reaction to that is that they will suffer. Not only them, but their ancestors will suffer. Jezebel and Ahab's ancestors. So it was a corporate idea of sin. You sin and you get punished, but so do your children and your children's children. That comes up in the gospel. That's why one of the apostles said to Jesus, why is that man crippled? Was it his sin or his parents' sin? Jesus changes that. He says neither. It's just the way it is. His illness is his illness. It has nothing to do with his brothers or sisters. So that idea was woven into the scriptures, Old and New Testament. Okay, so now we have Jesus giving us a dilemma. Jesus is saying when someone hurts you, don't hurt them back. Don't pursue them as Jezebel and her soldiers pursued those whose land they were stealing. Don't go after it. If they want your cloak, give them your cloak and your tunic as well. Extreme Christianity this is. Now, is that woven in and out of the scripture, the New Testament? It's referenced often. But the key is forgiveness or punishment. Now put it in 21st century. Israel and Hamas, Ukraine and Russia. Tribes all over the world fighting each other. And who they often call on to be mediator is the Pope. Not because it's Francis, but because he's the Pope. Whatever Pope is in charge. Why? Because society looks to the church as the mediator of these words: forgiveness, peace, reconciliation. Even though while that's going on, society is at war with each other here in our country, throughout the world. So Jesus' words are very heavy today, very difficult to absorb. Now, when we're home or with family and friends, shopping, and someone cuts us off, you might say, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to carry on. But most of us don't even do that. And we're talking about a little thing. We're not talking about bombing a country. If someone hurts us, someone close, your neighbor, your priest, want to get even, eye for an eye. And maybe you don't get even, but you feel you want to get even. And God bless you if you don't even have that attitude of revenge when someone hurts you. God bless you, because you really absorbed the message of Jesus. So you're going to be confused today with the readings. I hope you are, because they're not easy. The Old Testament was often pictured as a God of revenge and anger, and the New Testament, we try to fluff it and say it's Jesus loving and being gentle and all that. There are scenes in which he's gentle, but not all of them. But the key is forgiveness, not vengeance. That's hard. I mean, we're praying for Israel, and we pray that the war stop. And tongue in cheek, we're not praying for vengeance upon the perpetrators. But underlying our philosophy and theology, I'll bet if we took a poll, most of us would say they should bomb the hell out of Hamas and all that, which they are doing in Gaza anyway. So we're caught in a dilemma. But personally, let's live according to the words of Jesus. Forgive. Forgive and not punish. And that's tempted every day. We're challenged by that every day in the newspapers, on the media, and our own lives. Forgive